your book really cracked my heart wide open. 2 years ago, my best friend was diagnosed with cancer, and I moved in with her and lived with her for 3 months, and then on and off for a full year. We got her through cancer, and it's a very special bond to be with someone through that whole journey. I mean, naps and talking and time you just don't get in real life. So that was experience number one. And then 2 weeks ago, my friend lived her last 4 days of her life, a different friend, and she asked me to come be there with her sisters. And so this book, like your observations and what you talked about, like you said, I had to stop. I just cried. I thought, was Anne with me? Like, how would you know that? Such in-depth.
Like what? Share with us.
So to be there, the energy of women, of two sisters and myself, where her husband wanted her to be a trooper and you're being strong. We came in and just held the space for her to be however she was. She lived for 4 days. And it's nothing against the husbands. Like that's, I felt for Elliot, but there is something about your women friends who can just hold space for you and you can just be however you want to be. And we didn't even have to talk. You could just hold hands. Mm-hmm. Whereas there were times, and I know this is broad stroking it, but the husband wants to fix it. And what can I get you? And she was like, I'm done with the fixing. And she would look at me and say, please make this stop. And so, and then just things that you talked about physically that happen.
It is the nature of men to want to resolve the problem. It is the nature to want to fix it. Yeah.
And at the very end, Oprah, there is no fixing. So there's just being.
I got that.
And I think female friends can do that for each other. Like
I learned that many years ago in the Oprah show. We were talking about the same thing, about the differences between men and women. You might agree, Kyle, that men, or you guys might agree that men want, okay, you're telling me this, so I need to now resolve it or fix it. Women just want to tell you. I'm just sharing my feelings. You don't have to fix anything. I'm just talking about it.
And also, right to the very last day, we could have a joke or have and I get it, for the partner, this is so serious. This is the end. Your girlfriends can make you have a giggle right to the end. So there's that type of feminine energy that, maybe that's what we crave at the end.
So you understood why they took her away and they went back to Maine and they had those final days there.
I really did. That. And your question, Oprah, was what I was thinking about of why at the end do we do what we want for our loved ones? Or, so was Claire being totally selfish? And I know people have strong feelings about that, but I saw the other side of I want my sisters and I want my girlfriend. And it was harsh to send him away, but does she get what she wants? Or are we people pleasing right until
the
last
eyes? Breath?
Till the last breath, right?
You people breathe, I don't want you in here, but...
Exactly.
To the last breath.
But so exceptionally written, and I felt like you were sitting with me during that whole experience. It was so well written.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm sorry you went through that. But I also see the beauty in it.
It was an honor. Truly, it was an honor.
I wanted to ask Kyle, what did this experience of giving yourself this care partner, caregiving experience, and then being asked to leave, and then in the end, coming back in the end to caregive with her new boyfriend, what did that teach you about yourself?
Well, I think it taught me that I loved Sarah regardless. I saw her in the end just having less capacity, less and less. And so you think of it as calories. You've got so many calories to spend. And when we have our life ahead of us, we don't think of that in finite terms. Mm-hmm. But when we're staring down a terminal illness, that's all different. And so I think she saw me, someone who loved her, and she knew that, her boys, and some adventures she had never had. And she just did some math and made some decisions. And that wasn't about me. It wasn't an indictment of who I was. It took me a long time to get there.
Yeah, that it wasn't about you, that it really was about her and her decision, as you were saying.
And I think it helps to understand, too, she spent, rather than having like a girls' weekend, she spent the last few months of her life in bed writing notes to my boys. So she's still very much alive in their lives because of that. So that took a lot of effort and time, and she wanted to spend it on that.
Yeah, I know. I remember one of the, people always ask me about the Oprah shows that I did, and everybody always thinks that they'll say, what's the most exciting or the most memorable? Everybody always thinks it's going to be about celebrities. And I say, it's never about celebrities. It's always about real people. And one of the real people I remember was dying of cancer and not just wrote, but did tapes for every birthday for her daughter until she would turn 18 about what to do when you go to your first prom, and this is what's going to happen with your period, and this is what's going to happen when I die, that daddy's going to want to marry somebody else. The daughter was only 6, so she did them for every birthday up until 18, and that takes a lot of time and thought and energy to do that. So we all of us who are listening to your story admire the man that you showed up to be in that moment. We can say, you should be proud of yourself for the man you showed up to be in that moment.
Thank you.
Robin.
Hi. So I'm a caregiver myself for my mother who has dementia. I think first and foremost, I really appreciated the perspective that you took from the caregiver side. A lot of that resonated despite the difference in illness. Some of this you covered with regard to the relationship and Claire's desire. The way she expressed it was really what she wanted, but she never said why. She never gave Elliot a reason why he had to leave for her to have this experience. So I was just curious if you felt that was symbolic of relationships, that sometimes we just have really hard time speaking the truth to one another. And at times, perhaps it's easier to just take what you need and worry less about other people's feelings.
It's interesting. First of all, or back up, I'm sorry for what you're going through with your mother. My mother just died of complications of Alzheimer's, and it's a very long, hard passage. So I'm sorry for that. I think Claire told as much of the truth that she could and the version of the truth that she knew at the time. I think one thing that I try to do in books is weave together what's going on consciously for the characters and then what's going on unconsciously. And, we don't want to give the ending away, but I think one of the journeys in the book is Claire and then Elliot coming to understand what was really motivating her, but she couldn't have told him that at the beginning because she didn't know it yet.